Hi everyone, welcome back to Thoughtful Thursdays. So, in recent times, I'm happy to say that there has been a lot more attention coming our way in the field of veterinary medicine. And whether this is because of the advent of veganism or animal ethics or animal rights being disputed on a sentience based level, I thought that this was a great opportunity for me to have a chat with you all about the realities of my field and what the students and practitioners of veterinary medicine face on a day-to-day basis. So let's start at the beginning with young students who are preparing for vet school. At such a nascent stage itself, we students are constantly having to justify why veterinary medicine is not a waste of intelligence or why it is a financially secure and feasible option for our future. And we're often dealt with rather ignorant statements like, oh, but you're not going to be a real doctor, or don't you want to be a real doctor, or just statements surrounding this notion of veterinary medicine being primitive compared to human medicine. So when I was in high school and I went to a career advisor, barely anybody knew what the prerequisites were for a good veterinary student resume. And so you end up having to do a lot of research on your own while having to constantly update and communicate with your family and keep them educated and dealing with this mass ignorance surrounding the field in general. And sometimes it feels like the whole world is trying to convince you to not do what you love. So when you eventually do your research, you will find the following: that the entry requirements for med school are quite similar to the entry requirements of veterinary school. So I'll take you through these requirements on a region-to-region basis, mostly focusing on the UK and India, the US and Australia, because I'm here now. So in Australia, and just bear with me while I read this because I want to make sure I get it right. So in Australia, GPA-wise, you require a minimum OP1 rank 99. And you must also have passes in senior English, chemistry, and maths B. You must also have passes in physics or biology. So my university, UQ, has introduced as of last year a situational judgment test additionally as an entry requirement, which you have to pass to kind of gauge whether you are not just aptitude wise but also personality wise suited for the veterinary profession based on how you respond to the given circumstances in the questions that they present you with. And these are just the minimum entry requirements, by the way. Once you get these requirements, it's super competitive based on who has the highest grade. So although I'm saying that you require passes, you require a lot more than passes to get in to a good veterinary school. So now let's move to the USA. You need a competitive GPA of 3.5 or higher. And this is out of 4, a total grade of 4. In the US, you typically get into a course called pre-veterinary medicine, which is similar to pre-med. And if you maintain this GPA of 3.5 or higher throughout every single semester, you then get pushed into vet school after 3 years. Otherwise, you can graduate with a Bachelor of Science in animal science or biology or whatever you've chosen to suit the prerequisite requirements of the university. And then in the UK, they typically take A-level grades, and in A-level you require 3 A's or an A star AB in subjects including chemistry, biology, physics, or math. If you do IB, which is what I did, you require a grade point average of 36 out of 42 or more, with 18 of those points being secured in higher level subjects, including chemistry, biology, physics, or math. So very similar to the A-level requirements. So it's not at all easy to get into vet school. On the contrary, it's right up there with medicine. It's just as hard. And apart from these academic requirements, you also require work experience. In some countries, it's mandatory to have work experience before you get into vet school. And in every single country, it's highly recommended because loving an animal is very different to being able to deal with cadavers and death and euthanasia and illnesses and disease. So it just requires a whole different sort of physical makeup of a healthcare practitioner in general. So work experience is often included as a part of a strong resume for vet school. So now once you do, or your loved one does get into vet school, what can you expect them to go through? What can you expect to go through? So in your first year, you're dealing with a lot of anatomy and physiology, as well as clinical principles, ethics, foundations of research, etc. Your second year, you then continue to focus on anatomy and physiology on an organ system wise basis. And you also go a lot into infectious disease management. So veterinarians are infectious disease specialists by default. So we put a lot of emphasis on zoonotic disease management, epidemiology, One Health, virology, immunology, microbiology. So these sciences are given a lot of importance in our field. So in your second year, you'll also be introduced to the wonderful world of nutrition. So like in human medicine, you have to study dietetics because every illness is somehow related to what we put into our system. We also have to study what our patients eat and what our patients put into their system. So we do a lot of work on the toxicology and nutrition of plants. Be prepared to get into the dietetics of herbivorous, omnivorous, and carnivorous diet in considerable detail, which can be fun if you're into that kind of stuff. And then in your third year, you essentially you make this huge jump from learning and acquiring a lot of information to being able to apply what you know. So it becomes a lot more focused on surgery and principles of clinical medicine, and you get more into ethics, you get more into your infectious diseases, so a lot of virology, immunology, microbiology, and there's a strong focus on pharmacology as well. This is when you go from basic principles to really applying pharmacology. So there's considerable depth, and it's a huge jump from a learning-based approach to an application-based approach. And then in your fourth year, you're taking all of the general principles and techniques that you learn in your third year, and you're applying it more specifically. So you do equine medicine and surgery, ruminant medicine and surgery, small animal medicine and surgery, and you go a lot more into reproduction. So there's a lot of obstetrics and neonatal medicine, as well as population medicine as usual. And then your fifth year mostly comprises of a combination of placements and research, very similar to human medicine. So there you have it. This is a very, very broad and generic overview of what the syllabus of a veterinary school entails. But why is it important to understand this? Now we're getting into what I really want to discuss here. Recently, the training of medical professionals, whether this is in the human or the animal fields, has become very much like training of an army professional. You are told and you are taught to be hard and emotionless and very detached from your job. And the emotional intelligence is not encouraged and protected as much as it should be. Now, this emotional intelligence is what allows people who serve to do their jobs so much better. But this protection, and this can only prove to be an asset if medical professionals are not constantly ill-treated and accused of being moneymongers and to some extent even criminals. Yes, at the end of the day, it is another profession like every other career. We have rules to follow, we have administrative protocol, we have a bottom line to meet, we have costs that we need fulfilled. So often, human doctors as well as veterinarians go into debt because of this financial blackmail that has become so prevalent in this career path. And the sad thing is that human doctors as well as veterinarians feel like they reach a stage where they have to start playing hardball with the pharmaceutical industry in order to be financially secure, because at the end of the day, they have mouths to feed, they have dependents that rely upon them, and we're not really giving them a way out. So most veterinarians end up being victims of debt or compassion fatigue. Other vets become workaholics because they feel this need to be constantly available for their patients. Other patients end up going into depression or having anxiety because oftentimes we are asked to perform terminal procedures like euthanasia on animals that can be easily saved because the client can't afford it or the client doesn't care enough to try to save the animal. So veterinary medicine is in a lot of ways like being in peds, where you're not just dealing with the patient, but you're dealing with a patient and a client. So you have to be an excellent communicator and you have to have excellent people skills, but at the same time have this vulnerability and be able to get on the same frequency as animals, which requires a whole different form of intelligence. It's a lot. So whether you are a veterinary student or a vet, or you have a loved one in the field or any field of service in general, please understand that yes, there may come a time where they face financial difficulty, but they will face it doing what they love and living a life of purpose. Yes, there may come a time where they are in harm's way and their physical safety cannot be guaranteed, but you can just as easily break a leg slipping on the bathroom floor while doing a desk job as you can in the field serving an animal or serving a human. And same goes for diseases. You can just as easily catch a disease working with an animal as you can walking around in a mall or a supermarket. So none of these are reasons to discourage. These are reasons to help and to support and to be educated ourselves about the realities that people in careers of service face on a day-to-day basis. I urge you, instead of not wanting your loved one to play the superhero and wanting them to go for a more stable, financially secure career path, we need to push the future generations into such fields of nobility and selflessness and heartfulness. And we need to push them to do what they love and convert their passions into purpose. When you're doing what you love to benefit mankind and to benefit the earth in general, that's when your passion becomes your purpose. Empower them by investing in their career, investing in them, giving them quality time and your undivided attention. Because if you're not going to invest in the dreams of your loved ones, who is? And if you're waiting for them to prove to you that it is a feasible option and to get to a place of power or authority before you hold their hand, then you might regret that. It might be too late. It is a reality that today the people in the noblest of professions, farmers, teachers, vets, doctors, dentists, these are the people who are suffering the highest rates of depression, all forms of mental illness and suicide. And this is a responsibility that we must all be accountable for. This is a responsibility that we must all take upon ourselves. And this statistic is telling us something, that the people who have devoted their life in service of others are struggling to feel valued themselves. Let's make that change. Let's change that reality. So I hope this video has been informational and helpful in some way. I recently discovered that I don't care if you subscribe, but if you know someone who will benefit from this video, please do share it with them. That's more what I'm concerned about. And if this video has resonated with you or struck a chord with you in any way, please DM me, and I'm always available to have conversations, or drop a comment below and we'll start a talk. My beautiful daughter is here and she's just woken up, and one of the examples of why I like this profession so much is you get to work with beautiful fluffy little creatures like this. So yeah, I'm keen to hear your thoughts and I hope you have a lovely day ahead. We'll see you next time. Bye. Can I say bye? No, she wants to sleep. Okay, bye.